Hello and welcome to Goa 365 Straightforward. Today with us we have a very distinguished gentleman. He has been teaching Marathi to school students in Mandre for years, and he was also a former principal of the Sapteshwar Higher Secondary School in Mandre. He has also been trying to inculcate and impart knowledge on career guidance as to how students, not just in cities but especially the rural students, to really understand of how they could achieve their career goals. Mr. Ramdas Kelkar, thank you so much for taking your time and coming onto our show to talk to us. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself as to how you have gone through this process of really trying to outreach to students in rural areas?
Yeah, at outset, let me thank the organizer and you specially for making me talk on this very vital issue. Now career, this topic is vital not only to teachers, it is important for students as well as parents, everyone in general. And nowadays, because social media, the importance has increased. Understood? But problem is, although we say that due to social media, the word has gone to everyone's head, no problem about that. But has it gone to the heart? That is very important. When you are choosing a career, we always advise the child or student should give priority to his liking. That is called inner voice.
Yeah.
I remember there was one incident in my class. Earlier when I joined teaching profession, I was working for Port Trust. It was central government agency. And I was very much happy with the salary and all. But still that was not my passion. I was missing something. So I was waiting for opportunity. Till that time I had just graduation degree to my credit. So I did my post-graduation. That was a need of the, as far as qualification is concerned, that was a needed very much. So I prepared myself, I did my post-graduation, and later on when opportunity came, a friend like yours, he recommended me, there is an opening in Mandre. So I joined Mandre. And at that time, we had nearly 60 to 70 students coming to our class. Because in that radius, there were no higher secondary, except Pennam Higher Secondary. Of course, simultaneously, Harmal Higher Secondary was also started, but they had only science wing. Whereas our higher secondary had arts, commerce, and later on vocational was added to that. So when students, and especially 100% were rural students, and now it is, we can say, rural-urban, now we can say. But earlier it was a very, very poor sort of area. So one student, as I was giving lecture, I was teaching Marathi, which you have mentioned. And any teacher will not like a student distracting from his lecture. That is but natural. So I was very much inquisitive about this boy, because every time I was watching him for a long time and he was drawing something. So I was curious, so I told him, just meet me after class. So that was a shock for him. So he came to my staff room. First he was hesitating. At that time we never had counselors. Now counselors are appointed practically in all the schools. At that time we were counselors and we were teachers. So I asked him, I told him, you don't worry, you please share your problem. Then he told me that I was drawing a picture. Because he was more interested in drawing than arts faculty. So then he asked me, are you going to teach me drawing and all? I said, this is not the right place for you. For that purpose, you have to join fine arts, which is located in Panjim. At that time, Altino, Panjim, these were new places for them. So later on, he left our arts, that is higher secondary, and joined fine arts. So this is the scenario. Although students or parents, they are well informed, they find it very problematic as far as choosing career for their daughter or son, because parent, like you see figure 9, if you just reverse it, it is 6. So both sides, how it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, basically the perspective of what you look at.
Exactly. Your mother may insist that you should become nurse or doctor something, and father may say no, you have to join either bank or you have to be professor. So in both the parents, like both are correct, because their perspective may be correct, but child may not have that liking. The mother may insist that he should go for say nursing, and father may insist that he should go for banking, but he may have option for playing football. So that is exactly what is going on. So first priority, what we tell anyone who comes for consulting or guidance, we tell them first priority you should give to your liking, and second part you have to follow it up. Just by sitting at home, taking rest at home, you won't be able to achieve what you have in your mind. If you ask me, there is scope in every field, but what is important is hard work. Unfortunately, we miss this part in most of the students.
But so when students are they just finished their 10th, and then they are said that they have to take a major decision to decide which stream they want to go to, and then they have to stick to it. But to every solution there's a problem, a root cause as to why this happens, and it's thing once you go in the wrong path, it's very hard to you have to sacrifice years of education to shift again. So how exactly can the system change where students in their the high school itself, before they finish the SSC, are guided into properly choosing what they like, or is it really too soon for them to decide what is their liking?
Actually, 9th standard is the correct standard where guidance is required. Nowadays we have counselors, we have teachers who can guide them properly, and if students are aware that these are the options available to them, it will be little bit easy. Second thing is, we don't have all the options in Goa. You have to step out of the state, which students hesitate. The problem is, in most of the families, they have a nucleus family. Either they stay separate or they have only 2 children. That's another problem. So no parent will wish that their child should go far away. That is one reason. And when you are boarding, when you are enjoying boarding life, then it may be easy for that child to leave the state. So because of this, there is lot of problem. So at that time, student, like we have buffet, we have different kind of foods. Likewise, student should be given information that these are the options available. Like supposing engineering. Now most of the engineering students are waiting for job, although they have spent lakhs. Instead of that, if you do plumbing job, which is offered in government ITIs, and to tell you, you will find government ITIs with reasonable fee and practically in all talukas of Goa. Okay? And there you can complete your plumbing course, which is skill based. And nowadays you have a sort of difference. You find non-goals. Why they come? It is not their fault. They come to fill the blank. There are no plumbers. Then what to do?
So the vacuum of jobs that are created that Goans are not filling, so they come in here.
Exactly. Now you tell me, it is a good sign that people are flocking to Goa. That means there is employment.
There is employment.
The problem is we are not willing to accept the job. But if I give an example of plumbing, a plumber earns much more than the ITI person. That's a ground reality.
No, but like in cities at least it's because schools in cities are
Correct.
they have way more teachers and they have counselors.
Correct.
But it's the rural schools that
Yeah.
are most effective
Exactly.
because they don't really have this kind of resources to
Correct. Correct.
help students. So you've written so many books and you've studied and like you've tried to find out how you can help. So can you share with us how exactly can this issue be solved? So much as not focusing on the problem itself, but the solution.
Problem is with mentality. Parents have a mentality that my son or daughter should go for government job.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But problem is how many government jobs you can get. There is limitation.
Limited.
Limited. And if you seek for private job, there they expect that you should work. You should work hard. You have to be competitive. But problem with the student is they are not ready to such type of qualities. There are exceptions, no doubt.
Yeah.
But rural area, they have lot of talent in them. But problem is they don't have opportunity. And that is the reason I wrote this book. You will find most of the careers which are open in Goa, which you can do in Goa, are focused. That was the only book in Konkani, Devanagari. That was published by Konkani Academy.
Okay.
And this is my 9th book, which I have, with the help of friend, publisher, I have released this.
Okay.
The sole interest was that local student should get benefit of it. There are many employment opportunities, but problem is students, they don't do observation part, or maybe they find their particular job is below dignity.
Yeah.
So in one way our social organizations, schools are to be blamed also. See, when I insist that my son should go for farming, then can you narrate me one example when farmer is invited as chief guest in any school or organization? So the impression created in the mind of younger generation is that farming is not respectable. Only doctors or engineers are invited. That means they have certain value, and that is the reason they flock to become doctor or engineer.
So, but even like you said like a person should pursue a career that he has a liking in.
Correct.
But normally like people struggle because if they do have a liking, but to pursue that study, like say for example music, if suppose someone likes music, initially there's not a lot of money in it. Person has to struggle. So how would you what advice or how would you recommend a person to pursue something that is very hard in the start?
Normally when we say music, liking for music, it differs. Now just because a student is fiddling with computer or mobile doesn't mean that he has liking. Liking is one, even midnight if you are called to, you must be able to address that.
Yeah.
That is what I feel. Now students should observe which are the instruments which are not common. Like violin, you will find very few people. Saxophone, you will find very few people. People take to guitar, which is very common. Understood? Even piano, multi-type. And now church organization has a sort of those students, they have added advantage. The choir and all.
Yeah.
You require music. So automatically they are trained. Similarly, we as far as temples are concerned, you will find a teacher teaching them harmonium, tabla, but these are common things.
Yeah.
What I insert flute. Now there are very few flute players, and they are in demand. As far as earning is concerned, you will be surprised. The 5-star hotel, they invite flute people, and they can earn. But at earlier stage, earning should not be your objective. When I say liking, then for that liking you must be prepared to sacrifice. You can't prepare cake and eat. That's what we learn. That exactly will not materialize here. You will find different stories, very inspiring. There is one village in Dargal, Aroba by name. There was great musician who earned name and fame in Bombay under Chayan Datta. Older time. At the age of 12, he left his house just to learn music. So there are many examples which you can cite.
Okay, but now even in colleges, now a student who has pursued, maybe like he mistook what he wanted for to what it actually is.
Yeah.
So how would you say, like, for them to convince even their parents to, like, I want to drop out of this and I want to change my stream to this. So how exactly does, like, how could you guide such?
Actually, the child or daughter or son, he is a right person to convince his her parents. Because outsider giving guidelines, it is of no use. Because ultimately, who has to pursue the career? Either the child, son or daughter. So he has to politely tell the parent that this is not my cup of cake. Now most of the time parents insist that you should become doctor. And one day they become patient. It shouldn't happen
like that.
So that is the reason they should tell politely that this is not my field, my field is separate. Understood? Of course, they can take help of counselors, teachers, because when you are a student, you will accept what teachers say. For you, the teachers are as good as Supreme Court. Understood?
That's true. So, but even I suppose, especially like in rural, schools, where do these students really get to go out and meet people who can guide them in such things?
Now, in the rural areas, the mental is different. They opt for any faculty depends on neighbor. Like for example, if Kamala has joined arts, then Vimal will also see in arts. First, they prefer company. Similarly with any boy. So there, if they tell the parent that this is not, although many a time we give preference to the higher secondaries which are located very close for safety. We don't see their choice. Actually, there we have to, even parents have to sacrifice. But most of the time the reply is they are very busy. In these days only Narendra Modi, who is our Prime Minister, he is busy, I can say. But I don't know, they give, normally we don't look at education as far as investment is concerned. Because ultimately, who is going to, you have to pass the baton to your son or daughter. If they are happy, ultimately you will be happy. So you have to strive for their satisfaction.
So, you've written this book, it's the only book in Konkani that is aimed at career guidance and, career literacy. So, how did you come about, like, doing this in Konkani? What is the thought process behind writing this book?
Earlier, I used to write for Marathi newspaper. Still I do. But at that time when Parrikar was CM, he declared that our official language should be Konkani. So I thought of writing a book in Konkani. And fortunately, Konkani newspaper, earlier it was Sunaprat, now it is Bangarboi. The editors insisted that you should write article on careers. That's how I went for writing. And later on, that is the normal procedure. When your articles are published, you compile them in the form of books. But I never knew that was the first issue of careers. At that time, Pundalik Naik was president of Konkani Academy. And I had just mentioned to him that to enrich any language, you should add to the language what is missing. And somehow he agreed to that, and later on my friends told me that this is the first book available.
Okay.
There is ample literature available in English, but in local language, very
less.
Yeah. And as far as new policy is concerned, that will play a pivotal role, because new policy, education policy, insists for local language.
You know, like nearing the end of the show, we have a few minutes left. But you know, just to get to know a little bit about yourself, how did you start pursuing and helping people choose their career and guide them in this field? Because normally people are concerned like they stick to one field and like they're like, if an engineer, he will advocate engineering. But a person to go and tell people this is better, or you should pursue this because this is your forte. Like, how did you end up in such a line?
The problem is one should have confidence. And you should always have positive approach for anything. Now the God or Almighty who has given us a birth or given this opportunity, every mouth has a butter. That is the fundamental truth. So if you stick to that, I think there were many options available to you. So when I was working for Porters, at that time I saw that it was a need. But later on, when I was settled down, I thought of switching on to my liking, and my liking was teaching, where you can help people. They are always in need. Most of us are in need. And if you look at the statement that we depend on each other. If there are no students, then teacher will have no role. It's like that.
So before we end the program, like what would you advise, not just students, but it is the parents and teachers who have a lot of influence on the students. So what advice or what would you like to tell them as to how they can help?
First thing, keep away all distracted items like mobile and computer. If you do that, then second option will be updating yourself. By updating yourself, that means go for studies.
Okay.
So first thing, buying newspaper. I had an opportunity to visit Kerala. There it is 100% literacy. I was surprised to see a rickshaw driver carrying newspaper. So we don't have that habit here. We depend on others for free reading normally. But what I would suggest is, if you buy any newspaper of your choice, I don't insist that you should buy this paper and that paper. But since we are writing our paper examination in foreign language, go for that paper and a local one. If you update yourself, I think, and writing, just note down what are the important things you have read. So that type of practice will develop you in having a good career. Because you may take any career, study approach is a must.
Okay, sadly we have run out of time, and we could talk for hours on a topic such as this.
Certainly.
But thank you again so much for coming on the show and taking time out, because you have been very busy. You have written 26 books,
27
right?
books.
27 books, and not an easy task. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show, sir, and we hope to see you soon again.
Thank you.
And keep watching Goa 365.